fucking Anthony! I fucking did crazy shit for you! You know what I've done for you, Anthony? You know what I fucking did for you? You know what I can fucking do with these goddamn hands? You know what I can fucking do?
Oh, yeah, wow, it looks good. No, that looks amazing. Yeah, it looks great.
Alright guys, welcome back to the GarageCast.
Hey!
I will start with introductions if you want to go first. Because you're drinking.
Yeah, my name is Sergio. I was the guy you saw in the skit there getting real angry, hitting myself. What happened to my eyes?
I tossed it out because I didn't want it to leak on the table.
Oh, smart. I'm done.
Anyways.
I'm camera number 2. I was a female in the skit.
A hot one, might I add.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to be winning that Emmy.
Oh god.
Do you really want to say camera number 2?
What can I say?
Maybe.
Can you...
Huh?
The long-awaited return
Be louder.
of me.
Mylan. And I'm Louie. And this is the GarageCast. Anyways, so today we watched Brothers, which is a film starring Tobey Maguire and
Jake Gyllenhaal.
and Natalie Portman.
Not to be confused with Step Brothers.
Yes.
Right, yes.
Two completely different movies.
Very
Take place in the
different
same universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're very identical.
Yes.
Anyways, we have our military man here ourselves to discuss the military aspects of the movie.
Yes.
Anthony
Yes.
is in the Navy.
Yeah.
That's about all I know about what you do.
I've been in the Navy for almost 2 years, so I think I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't... Are they gonna, like... They're just gonna think we're joking.
No, he
No, he's
actually
been
is
in the Navy.
Yeah.
Genuinely. I guess
never
that's a
around.
good point. I realize we're so sarcastic all the time. Anthony actually has been in the Navy.
You mean camera number 2?
Camera number 2.
Anyways, yeah. Cameron's off camera, by the way, editing a video.
He's getting
right
frustrated with us right now.
Because it's a no context joke.
Listen, they don't need
The
to know the
context
context.
is Cameron's usually here, and now he's not.
Yeah.
But we still have a Cameron.
Because you guys have 2 guests.
We have a corner Cameron.
Listen, if you want to know the context, look at the behind the scenes video. There's no context in the behind the scenes.
That's true. There's it. Anyways, so what do you guys want to start off talking about? I think the most important thing in this film is the relationship between the 2 brothers and the dad. That trifecta of the relationship.
I don't even think. I think later in the film, the dad just kind of drops off.
Well, I think it definitely becomes more about the 2 brothers, but I feel like a lot of the actions taken by the characters in the film
Motivated
are because
by the dad.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
motivated by the dad, especially Jake Gyllenhaal's character, in regards to the kitchen mostly. But
Well, their characters, like, are basically a lifetime result of their dad.
yeah,
Like, just making them the way that they are, you know?
right.
They even have a whole conversation about that in the film, where they're talking about, actually we talked about it. The favored son and the son.
Yeah.
He was filling his son's mind with all these talks of his days back
Yeah.
in the Marines, and so he glorified it in his
Yeah.
son's eyes, and that's why Jake Gyllenhaal. Well, I guess you worded it, so you should explain that.
Yeah. So, well, basically, Jake Gyllenhaal blames the dad for what was Toby's
Sam.
character's name? Sam. For
Sam.
Sam's death. Well, we'll call him by the character names. It's Sam and
Tommy and Sam.
Tommy.
Yeah.
So
Cahill.
Tom.
yeah. So Tommy blames his dad for Sam's death because Tommy claims that Sam was trying to follow his dad's footsteps, and essentially be like Sam was the favorite son and Tommy was the troubled one. That it seems like it ended up being rebellious because he was not the favorite. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, because he wasn't getting the attention that he needed, he act it out, and that continued into his adult life. Because the reality of it is, all adults are just big ass kids, and all the shit that affected you when you were a little kid affects you now.
The thing that's cool about that, we can pretty much deduct that about the characters without actually having seen it happen.
Yeah,
we
just
didn't
based
even
off their interactions.
exactly. We can. I guess maybe it's not safe to assume, but they didn't have to show us them growing up as kids to understand that this is how it is, because it's just kind of we already know like the typical story between like a younger brother and the older brother, and clearly one is always favored and the other one usually ends up being, because he's treated like a reject, he begins to act like a reject or a black sheep or whatever.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I think we kind of see that too, is like you start to see the characters in the way that they act. So like the movie starts out with Tommy getting out of prison and then Sam going off to Afghanistan, and you kind of see, like I mentioned in that dinner scene, feels really like awkward and kind of like cringy at first, because, and it almost seems like bad acting at first. Like it was kind of a big risk for them to put this style, like this direction on the characters that early in the movie, because anyone watching this movie who doesn't really know a lot about movies, or just like a general audience member, is just going to take it as a bad movie, when in reality it's intentional, or to me anyways, it seems intentional, as in like their relationships are like very performative and very disingenuous and like fake.
Yeah, the only real relationship there, well, I guess it would be Sammy's and his wife's, but Sammy and his brother, like they're giving like each other the looks while the dad is off talking about some stupid shit.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seems like they only really start to get comfortable, at least what I noticed with, especially with Tommy and the dad, is they only start to get comfortable with each other when they start yelling at each other, and that's when it feels a lot more natural, and it feels like that's like what they're used to, I guess. You know what I mean? As opposed to being nice to one another. Right?
Yeah, I know.
I agree.
That's their real relationship.
Yeah.
That's their common, like that's what they spend most of their time doing, is yelling. That's why they're so good at it.
Regardless, Tommy continuously takes steps to try and impress his dad, even though he claims to not give it.
And he even acts like
yeah, and like for example in the kitchen scene,
the dad is trying to apologize to him.
No. It takes place after the funeral when Tommy wouldn't let his dad drive, and then the dad makes sort of like a half-assed attempt to kind of talk to him and apologize, and he just blows off. He's like, "No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
No, it's fine. Sergio, it's fine.
It's fine.
Stop,
man. Control yourself.
I just wanted to say that. Oh, sorry, Louis. Jeez.
And then but he like cuts him off before he can even like fully apologize or even fully like say his piece.
I saw you making notes about that.
Yeah, and then he and then that's that, and then it goes from that to the dad starts crying and then cuts himself off and is like, I don't know how they live in this damn kitchen.
What I find interesting about that scene too is he does that as soon as remember the son, Tommy says some shit about how I'd slit my throat to bring him here, Dad. I really would. Yeah. And the dad doesn't even say anything.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't, I don't know if maybe he didn't hear it. Bad hearing, he's old. But I honestly feel like, God, he should have said like, wouldn't have changed a thing.
Yeah. But he didn't. He was probably thinking the same thing. Like, he, in my limited understanding, seems to me that he would have been like, yeah, it should have been you. The same way that the kids turn around and are like, oh, I wish you were still dead.
We'll talk about that fucking stupid ass scene with the daughter later.
Me and Sergio have different opinions on that scene, but yeah, we'll get to that. That's less important, and I feel like we're both gonna have a lot to say. I wanted to bring up, so Tobey Maguire's character Sam is obviously very troubled by what he did to Williams. In the to Private Williams when he was in Afghanistan. That kind of like really seems more like that's what's driving him insane, rather than the idea that his brother and wife slept together.
Yeah.
Because like even in the climax scene when he's finally like breaking and screaming at everyone, he's like, "Do you know what I've done?" He keeps saying, "Do you know what I've done? Do you know what I've done?" And he's like, "I'm no fucking hero. Do you know what I've done?" Yeah. Over and over again, as opposed to like he spends a very limited amount of time talking about them actually having sex behind.
Well, I feel like even the first time when he confronts his brother about it, even though like there was nothing to confront because he didn't do it, he straight up says, "Hey, if you fucked her, it's cool. I can forgive you. Just tell me." And it wasn't even that like the guy fucked her. It's just that his paranoia of them fucking and them not telling him, it had to be true, is what he was thinking. There's no way he couldn't have fucked her. Yeah. And that's the thing is like. And
he looked like a serial killer in that.
Yeah. I remember making the comment that Tobey Maguire is too skinny and he doesn't look very Tobey Maguire doesn't look very imposing here.
Yeah. That was my original opinion going into the movie, is that I don't really see Tobey Maguire being
An
in
imposing
that
figure.
role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he
but then
just-
by the end of the movie, you guys were all saying that
Well,
he was,
he
a
was a
serial killer.
brilliant
Yeah.
actor, like to
Yeah.
portray the.
I still don't think he's a good looks good for a commanding officer, but
I mean that.
He can
whatever
pull it
you
off,
like,
I
man.
think.
Yeah, I think towards the end, like while he was going like through the, I guess through the containment while he was in the Middle East, like just definitely seeing that character development. I think Toby pulled that character off very well, and even afterwards when he's sent home, like just the psychological impact that he would have received, or just anyone who would have received that survived that. Like, I think he definitely pulled off that image very well.
Yeah.
I agree completely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's out of a lot of movies that try and show PTSD in different ways, I feel like this movie did it really well, and mostly because of Toby's performance.
You can see it in his eyes. He looks unhinged. It honestly looks like a man about ready to just snap.
Yeah.
Even when he's hugging his brother, I'm like, bro, he's gonna fucking do something. You
Yeah,
know
and then he
what
pulls
I'm
the gun.
saying? Well, he does it because he notices. I honestly think that he would have just kept hugging his brother and they would have hugged it out. But he pulls the gun because
I
he looks out of the
thought
corner
Jake
of his eyes.
Gyllenhaal was like trying to get the gun from him because
He was.
knew
Well, he
had
was
the
trying.
gun.
I don't know if he had.
No,
the
but I
gun.
thought he knew that he had the gun, so he was like, that's why he started freaking out because he's like, "What are you doing?"
I thought he was hugging him because out of the corner, he hugged him so that he would be able to warn, to keep him he was hugging him to keep him secure, and that's why he even looks out of the corner of his eye. He looks towards the Natalie Portman's character, and she immediately walks off. And as soon as Sammy sees that, he's not a stupid man. He puts two and two together. And he's like, oh, well, he's not hugging me to tell me it's okay. He's hugging me to keep the family safe, as if I'm the bad guy here.
Right.
Because in his mind, he's not the bad guy. His brother is supposedly fucking his wife.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to talk about. So both characters have a thing that they're very ashamed of. For Tommy's character, it's a little less touched on than Sam's character, obviously, because Sam's character's thing that he's ashamed of is the whole movie, whereas Tommy's is just a quick little bit where he goes and talks to the bank accountant or whatever, the lady that he robbed off screen. That's why he went to prison. And so my theory about that is that Tommy got his chance at redemption, I guess, and he went and talked to her and got his opportunity to sort of resolve that for himself, and he wasn't ashamed of it anymore. He goes and talks about it to Natalie Portman's character, and has that conversation. And Sam's character never gets that opportunity, so he kind of just lets it build up and build up and build up until he finally snaps and destroys the kitchen. Which also, I mean, there's some symbolism in that, in destroying the kitchen, intentionally destroying the only thing that Tommy's character had put there,
Yeah.
But anyways, no. So I think that it's sort of like the two paths. I feel like that's a theme in this movie, is the two paths that each of these brothers take, because Tommy's supposedly the bad brother and Sammy is supposedly the good brother, but there's the lines get kind of blurred.
Yeah, I definitely I felt like I saw that point in the movie where the moment where Tommy found out that his brother Sam was MIA, the emotional kind of impact of life kind of told him okay, I should really change my character, because now there's no better brother, because I'm the only person, I'm the only son.
I have to step up.
He has to step up.
Even in the funeral, right after the funeral, he tries to take the keys away from his dad, and then his dad's like, well, when did you become so responsible? And it's that's him active, consciously trying to change.
And that's why the movie, I mean, it was called Brothers and not Family. And that's why it has to be based on those two brothers. I feel one thing I do find a little bit disappointing with the film is that I wish there was more scenes between him and the brother bonding prior. But I guess it makes sense,
but like you said, they kind of do show
imply
the relationship, but I feel like there was just so much going on in this movie that if ideally there could have been more scenes, but this movie would have been 3 hours or long.
I feel like this is a low budget movie.
Yeah, that CGI was really bad.
Which is strange, because I guess at the time Jake Gyllenhaal and Tobey Maguire weren't super A-list at this time.
No, I mean, this was after Spider-Man.
This was after all three Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's so Tobey Maguire would be huge, right?
And then Jake Gyllenhaal, he had been in stuff. Brokeback Mountain, 2005.
Oh yeah, we even talked about that he was riding off the Brokeback Mountain.
Well, I mean, I think that was
Donnie
his
Darko.
biggest role.
say
Oh yeah,
Donnie
Donnie
Darko,
Darko, early 2000s.
Anthony's gonna look up the movies that he's been in. He was in Donnie Darko.
And then
too.
after this movie, I think he got a lot bigger even.
And Natalie Portman's off Star Wars, right?
She's off of everything.
Well, I'm saying like she was just off of Star Wars at the time.
Yeah,
Black Swan came out in 2011.
Cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid cast.
Which is strange. That they probably used up a lot of their money getting the actors in the first place.
That's true.
That's what they probably
that
did.
Makes sense.
He's looking up the movies right
Oh,
here.
Jarhead. Yeah.
He did Jarhead.
Yeah.
From military film to military film. That's a really
He's been
good
in a
film.
lot of good movies. I really like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. I don't know why people tore Southpaw like a new one.
I
But
like
actually
Southpaw.
enjoyed Southpaw.
Yeah.
I really like too. I like watching Southpaw and watching Nightcrawler like back to back because they're two completely different roles.
He's
you
a
know?
very good actor.
Yeah, he's a very talented. He's a multifaceted
Zodiac is a really
actor.
good movie. Prisoners.
I like
really
Donnie Darko.
good,
It's really
obviously.
strange. It's not like I feel like it's a little overrated. Don't attack me for that.
Yeah.
But the movie is I really enjoy it.
I guess he was in Day After Tomorrow, but
Oh, he was the Day After Tomorrow.
Oh, God.
yeah.
My dad
Was
loves
it-
that
he
fucking
was like-
movie.
He was the main guy in that.
He was the son that the
Yeah.
dad,
Yeah,
that Dennis
Zodiac.
Quaid goes to rescue.
That's
I
so
think.
crazy.
I think it's Dennis Quaid. One of the
Oh
lookalikes.
yeah, Dennis Quaid. I
Was
think it's
Dennis
Dennis Quaid. Yeah.
Anyways, okay, back to this movie. Also, in that scene where he tells him, he's like, "Did you fuck her?" And then he's like, "I could forgive you if you did." His demeanor slowly
So
gets
strange.
it gets more from like being like calm and understanding to as Tommy's not answering the question.
Yeah, he
he
should
gets
just
more
answer
the
and
question.
angry.
I don't think it was ever common understanding though. I think the whole
Well,
time
yeah,
it was
It was always like
Uncomfortable?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was uncomfortable the whole time.
And-
But I mean, like as it went on and he wasn't answering the question, it seemed like the facade of pretending to be calm and understanding started to get torn away as much
Mhm.
because he started trying to like force it,
Yeah.
like force an answer.
But
out of him.
Jake Gyllenhaal being silent really didn't help, and I think that,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I did that purposefully, because if Jake Gyllenhaal would be like, bro, looked him dead in his eyes and said, what's going on with you? Why the fuck are you saying these things? I would never do that.
Right.
And then immediately afterwards, like, Natalie Portman came by and he was like,
Well, because obviously Tommy felt guilty, you know, and of course he would like
Do you
he
think-
didn't want to hide, or I would assume he wouldn't want to hide something from his brother, but at the same time he's worried about his brother, and everything's just so sudden, and he's back all of a
Yeah.
sudden, and
Well, you know how there's like the basic human response of when you're insecure about something, you project it onto other people.
yeah.
So
That's exactly what he's doing.
He's insecure about what he did in Afghanistan, so now he's projecting this onto them. Whether or not it's actually true, because there was something between them, but they didn't have sex. So whether or not that was actually true, it projects onto him. He's projecting that onto him because he's ashamed of what he did, and so like turning the attention to that, no one's gonna find out what he did. You know.
Well, wait, I don't know about that.
yeah.
Well, I mean that's
don't know.
his subconscious intention, though. I mean.
Hmm.
Because isn't that like the purpose of if you're insecure about something? That
Yeah, you
Yeah,
project
but
on
I
the
don't
others
think
to take
that's
the
like
attention away
just.
from yourself.
I don't know.
I agree with you.
don't
It's
see
definitely
it
projecting, but I
necessarily
don't know
like that.
specifically, and like that's like exactly that. But
Yeah.
you're right. It's definitely about projection. What do you think, Anthony?
So actually, I do agree with that, but I guess going back to if Tommy, right? Yeah,
Tommy is Jake Gyllenhaal's
yeah,
character.
Tommy. If no matter what he would have said, I feel like it would not be the answer that Sam was looking for. Like
I guess
if he
that's
said
true.
yes, I fucked your wife, you know,
Yeah, it doesn't
well,
matter.
it'd just been like a complete shock.
Yeah.
But even if he said no,
you fucked
You
with your
Sam,
line.
yeah, you're
you
lying.
did,
Yeah.
you're
So
yeah.
I think like in his best thought process at the time was just to not answer the question and just stay silent.
That makes
True,
sense. I
true.
guess.
Yeah,
that could make
that's
sense
a good
as well.
point. Yeah, I like
Sometimes
that.
silence is the
You know,
best answer.
sometimes the
Yeah.
best way to play the game is not to play.
Well, it also, I mean, at that point in the movie, it's within Jake Gyllenhaal's character to rather than answer the question
Through actions.
to want to take care of him.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and be like,
And
be
he
like, what's
did,
going
or
on
he
with you?
tried
What's
to.
wrong with you?
Yeah.
How can I help?
That's
you?
what I was saying. I like that he
didn't
said
he
that.
say I'm worried about you? Like,
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So that's within his character. Okay. I want to talk about the scene with the daughter
Okay.
at the dinner. So regardless of that coming out, like her outburst, the tension leading up to that, I feel like the scene was done really.
Oh, yeah,
really
I'm
well.
not arguing.
regardless.
Oh,
like
that-
the thing
yeah,
with the
the scene was
balloon,
excellent.
Yeah.
Every time I watch that scene, I feel like I can, like, my heart starts pumping and I can feel it in my chest.
It's like the Hurt Locker tension, but completely different.
Yeah, and then I feel like you can see Sam's characters. Like, I feel like his heart is like pumped because I remember watching it and being like, "Holy shit, this is what Sam feels like all the time watching that scene."
Yeah.
You know, because and you can see it in his eyes because Tom McGuire does that thing where goes like this. He's like when he gets angry, he's like,
Yeah.
and he starts like looking around super wide eyed, and he's like, and it like snaps to people and be like, stop.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
I was expecting
then,
the balloon to pop.
Yeah, well, he did.
I
pop
did.
it,
Yeah, he popped
but
it.
he did it.
No, but the balloon and then the girl that Tommy had brought, like just
All the things,
bullshit happening, like.
And then them having that talk where the dad's like, well, you know, these guys stubbed their toe and need to go to a therapist, and then she has a
That's
different
some dumb
take on
shit.
it.
Well, she's talking about the
Dad saying that
the
dumb shit.
Marines and she was
Yeah.
like the Army. She was like,
Oh, the train to kill. Oh, you can teach
It's like
you can teach someone to shoot a gun, but you can't teach them to kill.
It's like there's like 3 or 4 separate arguments going on, because there's an argument between the two brothers, the argument between the girl and the dad, the argument between the daughter and her dad, and it's all going on at the same time, and it's just like, oh fuck, it's all like building up and building up.
That's true.
yeah.
And then until the outburst, which you said was like out of character, or like
Yeah, well, I would think it was unwarranted, especially because it led up to that. Like her saying those things specifically, like there's no actual lead up to that scene.
Yeah.
At least nothing to substantiate the
you're-
shit that she actually
Wait,
says.
wait,
The
wait,
stuff
are
that
you-
she says is completely venomous. What are you saying?
Are you getting at what I? So are you getting at like you're surprised
that she said
that she turned like that on her dad?
Of course. Well, no, that's not what I'm getting at
But
all.
that's basically
I'm saying no. That's not basically what I'm saying. Be quiet for 2 seconds. So anyway, the idea of what she says is she has to have at least like led up to the point where she's angry. Louis mentioned the fact, she's not angry at her dad specifically. She's angry at Tommy for bringing some girl that, just for one day. That doesn't make. And then Louis made the argument. Make that go ahead again for the sake of the podcast.
I'm not.
Louis said that she's angry because it's not that homeostasis that the house has been was destroyed.
Yeah.
But she didn't have that argument. Kind of falls apart because she didn't have that anger after her father died. If she was actually worried about the homeostasis when her father died, she would have been angry at Tommy imposing on her father's place. And then it would have made more sense for her to get angry again. It's like it would have made sense for them to have scenes of her and Tommy like hating each other at first.
That's true.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
can see that.
So that argument with the homeostasis, I appreciate it, but it doesn't make sense.
I think that also you got to keep in mind the relationship between Sam and the daughters was never very strong.
Yeah. That's the thing is that like both daughters said, eventually they liked having Uncle Tommy around better because he was a better.
That scene is
figure.
never implied. We never see. You actually mentioned this when we were sitting at the table. We never see their relationship, to the point to where we can see where it's bad. Because for me, their relationship seemed actually like a mother and a father and daughter.
That's true. That's what I thought as well. But if you assume
but that's the whole
Sam
point about
became more like his father than Tommy did. They went down different paths.
One of the very first scenes that we get with the daughter and Sam's character is in the very beginning of the movie. He's leaving and she's all pissed off at him because he's leaving the house, and then he finally breaks it down and gets to her to get her to laugh and have fun or whatever, and then they all start wrestling and stuff. But he has to work to get to that, so you can already see there's a little bit of resentment. She, I feel like from the very start of the movie, is upset with him for being enlisted in the military.
Yeah, for
and
being
having
gone.
to leave.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Commission,
I didn't see that
technically.
Huh?
Commission technically, but it's when you're an officer, you're commissioned. If you're enlisted,
okay.
you're
he was a captain, so he's commissioned officer.
But then I feel like that kind of builds up, and that constant coming and going that she always has to live with, and then finally he's gone forever.
Well, then there is no reasoning for the homeostasis, is there? Because if she's used to leaving, then.
But she gets upset about it every time, and then Tommy comes in and he's there for good.
But now that he's back, wouldn't the idea be that she's not angry because he's not going to go again? Clearly.
Well, I think that at that point she's already gotten used to Tommy being around all the time.
Yeah. And she doesn't
after 3
like
months,
who
which
her
is
dad
again
now.
the time frame is also pretty difficult to stay consistent with, especially because of time frame. We don't actually have an idea.
Yeah,
We get
we
2
don't
months
know,
now is
yeah.
it?
Yeah,
so I'm assuming
say,
it's been 3 months.
I'm gonna say it's been 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, which again isn't actually that substantial amount of time for her. Now, if you made this argument, because again, the whole there's even a scene where she's scared of her dad at first, but then he breaks it down to her and actually manages to hug her.
I thought that was kind of out of place.
Afterwards.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Is the thing is though she understood that her dad is in a bad mental spot. right? If she was completely scared, she wouldn't have wanted to hug him. But she kind of saw it in his eyes, like, okay, Dad is fucked, so I have to be strong for him. Hugged him. He, after he walked away, she cried, but she was able to like realize, hey, Dad's not all the way there. Does that make sense?
I took that more as her kind of like realization that her dad isn't what she wants. You know what I mean? Like, because immediately after that is because I kind of took that as a realization that her dad is back now and Tommy's not going to be around anymore. Because it's kind of a parallel to the scene. Remember when Tommy and the girls are playing in the backyard and they're having that snowball fight? And it's kind of a parallel to that scene, except it's way more awkward and like way more like like cringy almost, and almost back to that like kind of almost like seems like bad acting, but it's actually really good acting.
Well, it doesn't seem like bad acting. He did an excellent job of him being fucking awkward about it.
Well, that's what I mean, is like, because he gets down and then he's like, he hugs them, he's like, those are my girls, and it feels like very performative and
no, I'm saying like that's good acting.
No, I know, that's what I mean. Okay. That's what I mean. It's like it's intentionally like that. It's like that on purpose, and that's what I mean. Is like it seems like bad acting, but it's actually intentionally meant to act like that.
Because that's how real people would work in that. Right. Yeah.
And so, but I feel like that parallel with the scene where Tommy's having the snowball fight and stuff with them is intentional, so that you can see like she is comparing those two moments. You know what I mean? And realizing which one she prefers.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. But again, like I said, with that whole scene and that whole scenario, we would see an actual parallel. Well, like you said, with the one with Tommy, but we would see it more substantiated. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. It would be a lot more obvious if that's what she's thinking. That's why, in my eyes, I feel, because this is the girl that we see that's supposed to be mature. She's the older sister, and she always acts like I'm the second daughter or whatever, right? And everybody loves her, and we get that, we understand that. Yeah. So I just don't see that her outbursts, especially the words that she uses, are particularly venomous. You know what I'm saying? It just comes out of nowhere completely, and that was like my argument. If you were to say that like her anger at her father, maybe it built up to that point, and that's why she would be angry. But I still can't wrap my head around the words she chooses to use.
I feel like it's also just the fact that she's a child, and I don't think she fully understands what she's saying. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is like she doesn't actually mean, and her sister too doesn't actually mean what they're saying. They're so driven by their anger that they say shit and they don't think about. Right. And so if you told me that, I'd be able to like, okay, that makes sense. And that when I actually convinced myself of that too, she must have been so angry that she said this shit that she didn't mean. But at the same time, I don't think, like, I still don't believe that's like warranted of the actual words she chose to say. It very much feels like a Deus Ex Machina, or you have to say this to get shit to this point. So they don't get enough time to like build up to that shit.
I guess, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was my problem with the movie, is that it was completely unwarranted where she gets angry.
I think we can all agree this movie should have been a little bit longer too.
With more scenes.
Yeah. There's a lot of scenes that should have been in it. I see where you're coming from. I think that it was okay though. And
you said it yourself. Film is an art.
Yeah,
they should never settle for less.
That's true. But no, I feel like, me personally, I feel like, because I watched this movie a couple days ago and then watched it again today, I feel like upon the second time watching it, you can start to see that resentment start to build up throughout the movie.
This could be because this is the first time I've ever seen the movie. And like I said before, when you watch a movie for the second or third time, you usually pick up a lot of different things, because you're not focused solely on the facial expressions of the characters.
Yeah.
You actually focus on things around the outside because you've seen it already.
You know the story, you're just actually getting the details this time.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Hey, Jeff. Jeff's in the back. Say hey.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
I forget what I was going to say.
Nice.
Good job.
Sorry.
No, shut up, camera number one. You're irrelevant.
I think I think definitely more scenes in this movie would have made it better, which is strange. I mean, typically, if you complain about a movie in regards to like length, you usually think it should be shorter, but I feel like this movie needs to be a lot longer.
Actually, I have the opposite opinion, man. I think more movies need to be like 15-20 minutes longer. Just one scene that substantiates relationships.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like this movie could have benefited from flashbacks too.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I don't know if that would have been too cheesy, but I think
we talked real quick. You had a lot to say about the military stuff, the military aspect.
Oh yeah, so there's a couple things I had to say. I don't know. I don't want to like interject like while you guys were talking about this. So if there's like a different time to yeah. No, but I'll definitely talk about that.
All right. We continue.
Okay. So, for the most part, I feel like they did, and they tackle like kind of how Sam was going through that. I can't say I've never experienced a stressful event in the military that has put me into that situation. Now, what I've done, I can't say, nor do I want to say, but that impact that just seeing death, it really does make an impact on who you are and how that affects you as a person, kind of how you make your future decisions. Because in reality, actually, even during the dinner talk, when the lady was talking about, okay, you can teach a man to shoot, but you can't teach him to learn how to kill.
Or take a life.
Or just handle death. That is, I believe that is something, like, she is kind of right on. You, like, that's not something that you learn to do. It's something you do and you learn to live with. You don't learn to do it, you learn to live with it. And I feel like that is like in the later half of the movie, after Sam kills Private Williams, he's not learning how to kill, he's learning how to deal with the actions that he's done. And I feel like the movie has portrayed that very well. And he can't talk about it. And I feel like that may be like an argument of point. Like, why didn't he just talk about it and say it? Well, he can't exactly say, I'm sorry, Miss Williams, I killed your husband in cold blood.
We were making jokes about it, but in reality, it's fucked.
It's a completely fucked situation. But I definitely, like, massive applause to the movie for intensifying, like, how much of an important issue that it really is.
Apparently, the film was based on an old Danish film. I had no fucking clue that this movie was based on a Danish film.
Yeah, I had no, like, I've never even, like, heard of this film.
I've never even heard of Denmark, bro. What the fuck is Danish?
It's a donut with a hole.
That's something what a Danish
is.
A hole. But it makes me think, like, maybe the original film had more scenes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
We should watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe down
the
line.
Yeah, this movie definitely felt low budget, and I think you're right. I think they spent a lot of money on the star power and didn't really realize how much it costs. As far as budgeting goes,
like that helicopter you said looked ass.
But they got the performances, and they did go to the Oscars. I don't think they won any, but they did go.
I feel like they did get a lot of the uniforms right and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, just noticing, like, just the general basis, like, they definitely got the Navy uniforms right. Marine ones, like, I think they got them right. Medals, when it comes to medals, Marines, I'm sorry, I had no idea what your medals look like. But
sorry, Marines.
Yeah.
Next time we'll have a Marine on the podcast.
But yeah, no, I think, and speaking from a civilian's point of view, that I've never had any military experience whatsoever, but to me, I mentioned this earlier, but to me, I feel like they handled, like, PTSD really well and respectfully in this movie, because it's like, what my understanding for the way that I perceive it, anyways, is it feels like he never really came home.
Yeah,
you know, it seems like he was always like, even when he goes to meet with his, like, higher up or whatever, and he says he wants to get back with his men
because they don't understand him there.
Yeah, he never wanted to be home.
That's the number one argument you hear for, like, a lot of PTSD things, is because they come here and they can't reintegrate, and because they have no one to talk to about it. Yeah. And like you were mentioning about how the VA is, well, at the time.
Yeah, the VA. I mean, they just started recently, I guess, making reforms and whatnot, making the entire system as a whole better. I haven't been to the VA because I'm still active, so I don't have that experience. So please don't quote me. But from what I hear, it is getting a lot better. But that is definitely something that I feel like should be very
focused on,
or in today's society. Just, I mean, we send people to go to war, and you know, they come back and
they're fucked.
Yeah, they're completely fucked in the head.
And
they can't get a job, and it's hard for them to talk about it because there's no one to talk about it with. You know?
Yeah.
Movie did an excellent job of portraying that. I really think so, especially through Toby's character. His character really fucking, his outburst in the fucking kitchen.
Yeah, was a good scene.
My recreation was pale compared to that. It was a pale recreation. That was very nice, very tense, and even the scenes where he's walking out, you're like, oh, is Toby
outside? That was the cherry on the cake. I would say.
Yeah, no, that. So yeah, let's talk. I feel like that whole from the dinner scene, when the tension starts building, all the way to the final when he goes outside and puts the gun to his head, like through it just keeps ramping up.
That was like the best part of the movie, I would say. Like, that felt super real to
There was
me.
a brief, like, moment of pure quiet where when he does it, his, like, wife actually, like, leaves the patio to, like, go as if she's gonna go and stop him. The brother's like, oh, everybody just fucking stop, right? And the cops were like, hey, Tommy, you're a war hero. Or Sammy, you're a war hero, man. Relax.
Yeah, and then that's where he's like, I'm no fucking hero. You know what I've done? Just over and over again. You know what I've done?
With these hands.
Fucking,
I'm really good at drawing.
And that's another issue, I think, like minor issue, like at the end, yes, it's a good part. I feel like the cops should definitely know better than to like have a loud conversation. Or I mean, yeah, there's that. Yeah. You don't kick a gun away, you grab it and you secure it. But also, you know, when oh crap, what was his name?
Sammy or Tommy?
Tommy. When Tommy tells everyone to shut the fuck up, that should like not have to be implied. That should already like I guess be implied because you don't want to create like a loud noise. You don't want to create all these distracting voices, you know, talking to each other because then that could risk a chance of escalation. Yeah. If you're dealing with someone who is endangering of harming himself or others, you definitely don't want to add a lot more noise to that situation. You want to have that person listen to one voice.
I feel like also the argument probably would have been against like that scene being good too is that most, like maybe not most, but I feel like the police would have shown up, seen that he had a gun, and opened fired immediately. Which I know isn't necessarily.
I feel like it was a small town. That's probably why they weren't like super knowledgeable.
I think it's because they recognized it.
That's true too, because he was a war hero, probably on the news, and also they probably knew him because it was a small town.
Yeah, everybody knew. They said, well, that's why.
I mean, he was in the newspaper, so
yeah. Well, the other guy was in the newspaper, so you can only really imagine what he would have
got.
Yeah. I'm sure he would have gotten at least on the local news.
They probably recognized. Oh, we're going to Tommy's. We're going to Sammy's house. I wonder what's up with him.
They definitely knew that they knew
it was Sammy.
They had,
I mean, they would have probably done like a report on him, like as the units were arriving. They probably got some information on the suspect. A quick brief on who he is and whatnot.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. At the end of the day, the movie was very enjoyable. There was a few problems, but a lot of movies have problems. Anything you could think of, Mylon, you had an issue with?
I liked the movie.
Yeah, I did as well.
I do think it was low budget, but I liked it.
Yeah. I think Hurt Locker was low budget as well, but because it had no CG,
that was a great film. That was a good movie.
I will say, I do like this movie a lot, but as someone who I only watched this movie recently for the first time a couple days ago, I was really looking forward to watching it, and I was kind of, when I finally watched it, I was a little underwhelmed. I think I had too high expectations for it.
I do remember the first time I saw it, that's how I felt too, kind of.
But I liked it a lot more this time than I did the first time I watched it.
I think you were disappointed because you got it in the same box that had the Hurt Locker. So you were like, wow, fucking Hurt Locker. Yeah, whatever. Fucking, we're at 30 minutes, right? Fucking Hurt Locker was great. This movie must be even better. And then you're just like, it's okay, I guess.
Well, I mean, no, I still really liked it. And for a lot of the same reasons I liked Hurt Locker, to be honest. They're very different movies, but like as far as tension goes, I feel like there's a lot of tension in this movie. Like the whole time that Sam comes back, like from the point that he comes back, there's a little bit of tension that's like underlying up until he straight up asks Tommy's character if they had sex, and then from that point forward, it just keeps building and building and building and building and building until the end.
It's almost like Hurt Locker is the direct effects of those drugs,
right?
And the Prisoners is almost like the long-term effects of withdrawal.
This isn't Prisoners. This is Brothers.
Oh, fuck, my bad. Brothers. I don't know. Doesn't Jake Gyllenhaal...
they're in all
Prisoners too. Yeah. Whatever. I don't know why I said Prisoners. We're going to have to watch that movie down the line as well. Yeah. But yeah, Brothers is more like the long-term effects of the withdrawal after the drug is over, after you've stopped using it. Right. All right, you guys want to wrap it up?
Yeah, any last-minute
comments, thoughts? Any complaints about like the guns or the
just applaud to Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. You don't wear your cover indoors. That's all I gotta say.
The other one more thing I want to talk about too is just really quick. Jake Gyllenhaal's character. He has a really interesting arc too. I think Tobey Maguire kind of stole the show in this movie, but no, Tommy has an interesting arc too of him trying to kind of please his father. But not admitting it. Yeah. So like one of the main things I remember is the dad complaining about the kitchen, and I mean it's just like a line that he kind of throws away to avoid actually talking about what's bothering him. But he complains about the kitchen, and then Tommy in like the next scene is fixing up the kitchen. And
when'd you become so handy?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably in prison. Fuck.
Yeah. And then Tommy like straight up ignores him. He's just like, oh no, and he like keeps doing what he's doing. And I feel like at that point, Tommy, his arc kind of was going from trying to impress his father to being happy with himself.
And and then later when they do the surprise, I think for Natalie Portman's character, the dad walks by Tommy and he's like, "Good job in the kitchen," but like under his breath, kind of.
Yeah.
And then Tommy's like, "What did he say?" Like he's like, "What did he say?" Like kind of like
I was
perked
just
up
shocked.
about it.
That was another thing. Small issue. I mean, it was just running through my head the entire movie, but it wasn't really that important. What was Tommy doing to, like, I guess, get that money? Like, he was able to renovate the entire kitchen for
that's true
for free.
because he couldn't afford $47.
He couldn't afford a bar tab, but he's able to renovate the entire kitchen.
My assumption is that he was probably started working for that company because it seemed like
he was
also
they
friends.
knew like even Sam and everything.
Yeah,
so.
He was probably working with them while like on the side he was asking him, "Hey, how about instead of paying me like too much, you just pay me a little and you help me out with the fucking," I don't know.
Or maybe they just decided to also like do it out of goodwill.
Yeah,
like,
that's true too. Maybe they were buddies of his from before.
Yeah,
that's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what the movie was trying to get us to accept.
When they're all whistling.
Yeah, implying that they were friends before, so they're okay with doing this. Anyways, it was a good movie.
Good movie.
Lots of characters. Like the characters, I feel like were the strongest part of this movie. You know, like each individual character had a lot going on.
Definitely.
A few issues aside, I just thought like the fucking low budget wasn't a big problem, but I really thought it was annoying dealing with like the Deus Ex Machina.
Well, it just. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I guess I agree, kinda.
The Deus Ex Machina out of there. But I get that's the whole point. Like
he's holding back his
I'm
wrath.
in between, honestly. Like
that's the whole point. Is like we both argued our points, and at the end of the day, it's all interpretive. You know what I'm saying? And that's the joy of it.
The main thing is, I agree that there should have been more scenes in this movie, but I think that they did well with what they had. I guess.
Yes, I feel the same way. If you're putting it in those words, I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with like the third Hobbit film.
Yeah.
You know, a film that is a lot of people fucking hate that movie, but I actually think that Peter Jackson did what he could with that movie. Hobbit series podcast coming up soon.
All right, we should pick the movie for next week.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is our standard procedure. We shake up the hat and someone picks a thing out.
Anthony, would you do the honors?
Oh,
Psych,
more
bitch,
than,
I'm gonna pick
okay.
Fair
enough. All right.
Everybody got 2 movies.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second.
All right.
Oh, that's right, Cameron. Yeah, everybody got 2 movies, including Cameron number 1, except Cameron number 1 is off camera. Go ahead.
Cameron number 2 is
Fuck
Cameron number 2 is Nightcrawler.
Hey!
Nightcrawler, finally! Dude,
Jake Gyllenhaal,
I
The
put that
Rain.
movie in the hat
3
every
months.
single week that we do this.
I did Hurt
Fucking
Locker for
finally.
every single week.
I guess that's true, yeah.
All right.
It's been
Well,
like 3 fucking months, and it's finally in there. We got
Jake,
Nightcrawler.
well, you know,
It's gonna
hold
be a
on.
good
How
one.
much is this hat?
Not
it
very
doesn't
much.
say.
There's fake blood on it though, so be careful. We used it for something a long time ago.
Does it
Not
have
fake
cooties?
blood. No, it's fake blood. It's not real blood. Anyways,
girls touch this hat?
Ew.
So catch us next time with the Nightcrawler podcast. Easily one of my favorite movies of all time. Jake Gyllenhaal is a fucking god.
Expect a long podcast.
Yeah, no, I literally, for my film class, for my final, I made an entire, 20-minute long video breaking down this movie, so get ready. Anyways, I'm Louis.
Jack.
I'm Anthony, a.k.a. Cameron number 2.
And I'm Miroslav. See you on next week's
Biblecast.
Biblecast.
No one's going to get that joke because the BTS comes out after this.
Oh, yeah. Watch
You'll
the
get that joke
behind
in
the
approximately
scenes.
1 week. See you guys soon.
It's not going to be in there. Damn it.
Good video.
Yeah, that was a pleasure working with you.
Hey, pleasure being here. Pleasure being here.
That's the first time that we've actually been here.
Finally.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like we always are